Mark.
Yeah.
Shadows, people. What do we got?
Yeah. No worries. Basically, my old condo, I was laying on my back in bed, sleeping on my back. I had the walk-in closet. A shadow figure shot directly out of the walk-in closet directly at me, grabbed my sheet, and I felt tension. And I white-knuckled. It was pulling, then backed away, and then disappeared.
And when was this?
This is the same time period, 2015 to 2019, 18, something like that.
Would you say your experiences with the strange all happened after you were ejected?
No, I had my car accident at 13 years old. It wasn't until I was 40 when I had my premonition of seeing the shooting in South Carolina, the Clement to Pinckney shooting.
Right. Yeah, that's wild.
And I haven't talked about that with you yet. Yeah.
Well, we got to save some.
Yeah, absolutely. No. Thank you so much.
Aidan, hold up. Mark, thank you for that. Aidan, I think I see the gears going in his brain. He might have a question for you.
The first one. What led to it? Like when you had the first premonition, what was happening in your life in the immediate prelude and then the immediate aftermath?
I was depressed and I started seeing a neurolinguistic programmer.
Okay. Like dating or like going to talk to?
Going to talk to.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, no, it's the terminology is important.
Good question.
No, I love it. Yes. Sorry.
This is why I'm good at my job.
Good job. Good question.
No, I love it. I met up with a neurolinguistic programmer, and I can give you the person's name if you'd like.
Okay, and what does a neurolinguistic programmer do?
They, instead of psychology or I guess psychology and what's the other one? Psychiatry, where you can obviously prescribe medication. They go into your subconscious. So they kind of figure out where the parts in your previous life, previously in your life, may have been roadblocks to try to work on those and address those.
Is it kind of like a cognitive interview? Like what the FBI does with witnesses?
I would say yes. Let me put it this way. The neurolinguistic programmer has like a degree in quantum mechanics and nonlinear mathematical mathematics and things like that. So he was the reason I sought him, because he's a heady person like I consider myself to be.
So yeah, but what led you to seek him out?
Yeah, so I was feeling worse and worse with my life and more isolated, and my bottom point is set much higher than others. So as a depressive state, I'm like, I don't feel like I want to be here much anymore. Maybe I should talk to somebody. So I sat down and talked to him, and literally when I walked in his office, I walked into his room, and first time he ever saw me, he looked at me, he cocked his head, and he said, "You're different." And then I just had waterworks. So I think he just knew how to talk to me.
Maybe. I'm trying to, there is a gear turning here.
Oh,
right.
I can share stories about stuff that I did with him and freaked him out.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. But I know I'm actually interested, but before we, get off the topic, I'm trying to, right before, was the depression just depression out of nowhere? Did something happen? I mean, is there anything that you can think of leading up to that depressive episode that you think could be related to the depression? It's like you move into a new house.
My entire life, I've been wearing a mask, and I think it just got to the point where it got really heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Was this stuff
then I felt like I had to address it before it broke or fell off or whatever.
Did this take place mostly after the crash in terms of the...
Yeah, this is after the crash, 100%. I slowly became more and more isolated, but it's hard to really correlate the two. I actually think I had a soul switch at 13. I actually, just from what I've experienced. It's not that it's real or true. It's just, that's what I've experienced.
Right.
The reason I ask the questions I do is because what you're describing with the shadow figure incident specifically, it sounds, you just described demonic activity. That is just straight, Catholic Church approved demonic activity. So that's what I'm wondering about is, it sounds like whatever, but what I would say to you is this, my cautioning would be this: be careful who you talk to and who you let in and what you agree to give up. In any conversation you have, even with other human beings who are physical, real human beings, And this is probably one of those places where the people who watch my missing persons content and see how like logical and thought out I am about everything are going to be like, wait, what? I fully believe in demons.
Oh, I do too.
So I'm Christian. I fully believe there's a demonic world around us. But yeah, what you described there sounded to me a lot like demonic oppression. Like something coming after you. And that's why I was trying to figure out, like, okay, did you move into a new house? Did you, is there something that happened? Any sort of possible trigger for that? Not necessarily it's even connected
the trigger
to the other
would have
stuff,
been,
but
I think the trigger was like I said, I had neurolinguistic. I went to my first meditation ever with him. I saw the shooting in South Carolina, the Clementish Pinckney shooting. And like I said, I didn't explain that one yet, but that's what I saw. And then once that opened, all the floodgates opened. I started meeting people from all different walks of life, and I built a real community of people that I knew had special. Like, you guys talked to X-Men? You talked X-Men? I'm like not Professor X in the special way. I only found them. Like, I could collect them. You know what I mean? Like, I could tell when someone had it.
So,
wait, while you're getting the gears turning, what Aidan was saying about coming in contact with a dark entity, wouldn't that then kind of connect with the soul switch you believe happened?
I don't understand that being different than the demon thing. It was scary in the moment, but it didn't hurt me. It was kind of like pulling the hair. When the woman talked about having her hair tugged, I felt that was a very similar, like, I thought they were trying to pull the sheets off of me.
I don't think they always have to hurt you, though. It could be more of like a getting inside or tweaking.
That, I mean, like I said, it all opened up once I
was just gonna say, you got to remember that, like, there's a lot of people misunderstand this, but the reason that there's a lot of like evangelical Christians who are against meditation and whatnot is because there are actually old Christian teachings against it, not because it's, communing with, like, pagan, not because it's a pagan idea to meditate, but because when meditating, the idea is to put yourself into a trance-like state where you are, not really present in your conscious mind.
Vulnerable.
And the idea was that you would be opening yourself up to interacting with demons by doing so. So it's better not to put yourself into an altered state of mind anywhere except within the sacramental bounds of God's grace. So that's why I ask, is I'm wondering, is what you're describing to me sounds like, you've had some interactions with some maybe not so positive entities in the universe. And that's not to say that, like, everything that you're going through is just demons. It's just to be like, I would say be very careful when you're in those places, that make sure that you're, safe and that you have something tethering you to the world, because things can get really weird when you start to alter your state of mind. I'm sure you've looked into it and everything. I just want to give that reiteration.
I actually don't meditate anymore because of that. I stopped meditating because I started getting visions like crazy. So I just stopped doing that, actually.
Smart. Yeah. You got to be safe out there. It seems like you're more open or susceptible to this stuff than a lot of people. Yep. And you got to be extremely, I like the demons thing, something I would mock and laugh for so long, up until.
So what makes you think that was a demon thing versus the other one in the barn? Can you guys share the difference between those two experiences?
The barn thing doesn't sound, so here's the thing. On the one hand, very old memory. I could see there being something as simple as one of the girls actually just playing a trick and pulling hair. But also the idea of demons is that there's no real reason for a demon to go after a small child like that in a group. That's not going to be powerful for them. That's not somebody who's going to... just the way the story was described didn't feel like that to me. It was a one-off. It was isolated. Yours isn't isolated. Yours involves meditation. It involves brain injuries. It involves trances. It involves... I mean, even marijuana is a psychedelic drug, technically. So...
And I didn't smoke until I had these experiences, just so you know.
Yeah, but that's my point, is like yours is coming from a much more... Yeah, but you get what I'm saying, is like yours is coming from... a much more consistent and aggressive place, whereas hers was a one-off that happened when she was a little kid. So it's more the context of the situation. Is this something that could have been a one-off weird thing or even totally imagined? In her case, she even admitted she wasn't sure if it was a dream. With yours, this is a consistent series of events that you feel are very real and are happening repeatedly. So that's why I go, and then in one case you did experience a physical manifestation of something. So That's why, for your case, I look more to demonology than something like, a quote unquote shadow person, is because it's more in that vein, that consistency, that sort of manipulative aggressiveness. Yep. A demon is going to manipulate. It's not just going to scare. Right. It's not just going to scream at you. I think the Conjuring movies do a really good job with representing kind of the aggressive demonology aspect. But, there's a lot of the demon stuff that you look at from the early church and from the medieval period. They are more like the Bell Witch, where they are manipulative, they are talkative. And if you look at what they are, if you take the Enochian view, then they are the spirits of the Nephilim, who died, long ago. Yep. If you look at there's other biblical views, they are they're fallen angels. They are angels in the service of Satan. And of course, then you look at Satan. Well, Satan's not the god of darkness and evil. That's dualism. Right. That's Zoroastrianism. Satan is the accuser. Satan in the Old Testament, like in the book of Job, it seems like he works for God.
They were having a little game.
Yeah.
With
so
Job.
his job in the Bible, in many cases, this character that the term Satan is a title, but there is also a specific character who is repeatedly referred to as Satan, the Satan. Yep. His role is to challenge, is to try and drive you off the given path. Yep. He is supposed to be the foil. God is all powerful, and the thing that you kind of see as you look more and more into the deeper theology is the issue with God is companionship. Yep. He wants companionship. So he creates beings.
And he creates a temptation to wander, like you're saying, like falling off the path.
It's not even that he creates it. So if you look at the Garden of Eden, mankind is created and placed into the perfect world. There's literally nothing that can go wrong. You can't get sick. You can't even die.
Yep. Childbirth is great.
Yeah, God is literally walking with you. Yeah. Like you are physically in the presence of God. Yep. But why create us? What's the point of doing so? Is it some deal like with Job, the Paradise Lost version, where Satan said, well, people are only worshiping you because they have to, give them free will, see what happens. That, like, the only reason the angels chill with you is because you don't give them an option. That's more the Paradise Lost version of things. Right. It's a lot more complicated. It seems like you got the angels who are, they have free will, clearly. Yep. If they can come down to the earth and see that the daughters of men are fine and beautiful and take them as wives, they're clearly got physical forms and free will. So what separates angel from man is clearly something else. Right. Perhaps divine power, the ability to enact force in the world from that level. Humans, we're given the perfect world. And then we're given free will, because if we don't have free will, our creation is pointless. If we don't have free will, we are ants in a terrarium. Yep. There's no point to our existence. So that's... I think that's a really important aspect of theology, and part of my problem with Calvinism is Christianity falls apart if Calvinism is the reality. But no, so I look at it and I think, this mankind having free will and demons being manipulative make perfect sense. Totally. But then also mankind being ejected from the Garden of Eden, and that being where we're trying to return to. I mean, think about what the Bible starts with, the Garden of Eden, and it ends with the New Jerusalem. I think we can both see what this is. This is, once again, the Bible starting and ending in the same place.
Book ended with a paradise.
Yes. Yeah. So
eternal paradise.
An eternal paradise. Yeah. And if we're to get back there, obviously, since there's going to be a judgment, someone's got to be leading us astray. And if we know that God has had the plan all along, God knows all of the possible outcomes of the future, then the reason we need a Satan is to make sure that we are working to find our way back onto the path.
It's part of the blueprint.
Yeah, and we needed a Satan so that God could test us in the first place. Yep. It was a very simple test, man.
And it was one small consequence, but it's a giant consequence compared to the consequence at the end.
I often do wonder too if if we take the viewpoint that you're trying to square anthropology and theology, that maybe Eden is us waking up. Like Eden is that moment of humans are not just becoming sentient, conscious, but sapient. Right. Like we are entering the world, and maybe the idea of Adam and Eve is that they're the first two to do that. Not to get too into the esoteric looks at Christianity.
Just be a system of that happening for humanity throughout the ages because we keep waking up.
Yeah,
different things.
That's kind of the idea, is like maybe that first awakening, that first entrance into civilization in any aspect of it was us. And I'm not trying to say that is the correct answer. It's just, I'm talking about the theological theories that are out there.
Yep. Oh, I love thinking about this stuff.
Yeah. I just love talking it through. And like, to be honest with you, that's what
and
Freemasonry
just so
is.
you guys know, like, I'm actually an anti-theist.
Interesting.
You are.
So you believe there's no God?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm an anti-theist because theism is a human-made religious thing. Personal faith with God is spirituality is a completely different thing than religion, in my opinion.
So are you more of a? Are you more of a?
I'm a free thought. I'm more of a free thought person.
Are you more of like a God is within all of us, or like a demiurge created the universe? I'm trying to figure out where you're at.
I'm going to say it this way, and I do have a couple good conversations coming up with some neuroscientists that are like, who have been on like Rogan and stuff, which is awesome. But I think all of this is an emergent property, and God is actually the emergent property of all the consciousness waking up, and that's what it ultimately is. And then somehow we're all connected because we're obviously all from one place, if the Big Bang thing is correct, and we could possibly all be quantum, we're connected, quantum entangled in some way. And over time the emergent property becomes more complex and God emerges out of that.
Oh, you would love universal co-masonry.
I don't even know what that is.
It's a spin off. It's a sect of, sect isn't even the right term here. It's a faction of Freemasonry that split off to more follow the continental version. So American and English Freemasonry is essentially Christian,
right?
For the most part. Most Freemasons are going to be Christian. They're going to be, at the very least, they're going to believe that there must be a God.
Right.
They're going to have all-male lodges, things like that. Yep. Over in Continental Freemasonry in France, you can have co-ed lodges. You don't have to believe in a God. But more specifically, universal co-masonry reminds me a lot of what you're talking about with, kind of that different focus, that different belief about the universe and how it's structured, and trying to understand every human's innate connection to both spirituality and other human beings. So that's if you're looking for a community, that might be an interesting one.
Okay, thank you. And like I said, if I didn't have the experiences I had, I wouldn't have made these weird dot connections and puzzle piece connections. This is completely outside of that. It's like people telling me who God is. I'm like, that's definitely not. If that's what it is, it's definitely not what humans are saying it is, because I saw something completely different from my experiences. That's all.
It's going to be hard to walk away from different situations and have the same interpretation too. You know, because I could be knocked into somewhere else and walk back, come back if I'm so lucky with a totally different interpretation, even if we might have been to the same place. It's kind of like art. Right. We just walk away with different interpretations.
Absolutely. And I'll be honest, the some of the visions I've gotten are extremely burdensome, and some of them have been fun.
Right.
Like I said.
Well, Mark, appreciate the phone call. Until next time.
Thank you. Have
a great one. Man, we covered a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to do a whole Bible podcast now.
So I actually do have a Bible podcast.
Do you really?
Yeah, it's called The Weird Bible. I do it with Wendigoon.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I didn't know that.
But this is that's the stuff we talk about on it.
What is it called again? Say it again.
The Weird Bible.
Weird Bible?
Yeah, The Weird Bible Podcast.
Cool.
It's its own channel on YouTube, The Weird Bible Podcast. It's got like 25,000 subs.
That's awesome.
We try to do it once a month, but that man has like 14 different podcasts.
A little busy. Do you go bit by bit, like verse by verse, or?
We'll usually pick a general topic or a book or a chapter or something like that. We did one recently on Samson. We have one on the concept of hell overall. So some episodes we'll talk about multiple books of the Bible. Some we'll talk about one. Really depends on it. But the idea is we're talking about, the weird stuff, not the stuff that you see in Sunday school and in your theology class, like, Samson tying the tails of 300 foxes together and lighting them on fire to send them through the wheat fields of the Philistines.
Right. I love it.
Yeah.
I love reading the Bible to my kids.
Yeah.
It's so unbelievable. It's the greatest thing ever written.
Yeah.
I mean, and I try to read different translations, and, it's tough to know. I don't do you have a certain translation you prefer?
I read a few different ones depending on what my purpose is. If I'm reading for pleasure, I usually go with the NKJV.
Why?
I think it's the best combination of readability and poeticism, I guess would be the word.
Okay.
Because you get the KJV, which was written with an emphasis on maintaining the original the original Hebrew poetry, because a lot of the Bible is written as poetry. So it was written to maintain that. And then the NKJV is just an update for modern English.
Okay.
So the KJV, I think if you're going to be doing like funerals, weddings, things like that, it's the most poetic. It's not the most accurate. It was for a very long time.
Right.
Since like the 1800s, not so much. There are a couple of more accurate versions out there now. But the KJV is easily, I think, the most beautiful English language Bible in terms of the way it's written. When it comes to study Bibles, I go with the ASB most of the time, the American Standard Bible.
What does that offer you different for study?
It uses the same like oldest source material available method of we're going to take what we have, we're going to go for the most original we can get, and then we'll build what we don't have based on the next best thing we have, which often is a Greek copy of a Hebrew text written in 200 BC.
Right.
Like that's we have good material here, or we'll even have Hebrew with the Qumran scrolls now. But yeah, so I like the ASB because it's that same practice. It's late 1800s English. There is an NASB as well. It's just as accurate, but it's basically the most accurate English language Bible. That and the ESV.
Were you always a Christian?
I was raised Christian.
Raised Christian?
I was raised Christian, and then as I got into college, I went into medieval studies and then got a minor in religious studies, focused a lot on Christianity, started reading the Bible, reading the works of the church fathers, examining other religions just as part of my course of study, and it made me a stronger Christian.
I'm sure.
And I want to be clear, this was not at a religious school. This was at Penn State University. Our religion was partying. Like
football and
our
partying.
religion was the Nittany Lions. Joe Paterno was our prophet.
Oh, that's why you brought up Paterno. I keep forgetting the Philly stuff, the Pennsylvania stuff. That, man. Well, I think we need to do this again.
I'm definitely down.
This was so much fun. There's so many topics I'd like to talk about with you. Thank you for the first 40 minutes of bearing with us.
Of course.
And for even jumping behind, for those who tuned in later, Aidan jumped behind the desk and tried to figure out what was going on.
I was so close. I don't know what Wesley did over there.
Shout out to Wesley. Like, we've gone through some real shit in this room, and we get here early every time. We're going through all this stuff. The second we go live, something just goes down.
Yep.
But it seems like you have those problems too.
Oh yeah, no, it's all the time.
Beautiful. Well, people, I know they all know, but they can find you at Aidan Mattis on Twitter.
I am at Aidan Mattis on Twitter. I am at the Aidan Mattis on basically everything else, including my personal YouTube, where I mostly do like reaction and commentary streams or play Helldivers or Content Warning with my friends. That's just a fun channel.
Yep.
But yeah, for most of the stuff, for all of the us sitting down and doing video essays, that is the Lore Lodge, and those come out every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern.
Sick.
And that is I mean every Friday for the last 3 years. I think we've missed like 3, and they went up on Saturday.
That's incredible. You got to be consistent. And that's the way you do it. Well, you do a great job.
Thank you.
And it's a lot of fun talking to you, man. I'm going to make some peace deals between you and some people too, I think.
Okay.
I want to bring people together so we can actually uncover reality, or do our best.
Yeah, I'm always willing to talk to somebody. I'm always willing to give somebody a chance.
And that's what I was going to say earlier. Even if a lot of us or certain people disagree with one another, there's nothing better than having those conversations. And they can be fun. We can be nice to each other, but you're going to build the immune system of your ideas. You're going to make it stronger. And maybe you were wrong, but maybe you saw something else that none of us saw.
Exactly.